and I'm looking forward to being here. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, live and recorded. I'm Luis Garcia, and I'm excited to be with you here today to talk about growing your business with a CRM. Let me go ahead and get my deck on screen here. And there we go. All right, so we're going to unveil tangible strategies for leveraging a CRM to unlock the mysteries behind your business growth. I know that I love good morning to you, by the way. And just for my knowledge, I would love to know who is in the audience today because oftentimes it allows me to tailor what I share and the examples that I might have based on you. It's and that way you can get more value out of it. So if you wouldn't mind, feel free just to throw in whether you're your company or industry that you're in, and also what you're hoping to get out of the webinar today. That way I can make sure that one, it's either part of our agenda, and if it's something new, then happy to also get to it as well. Naturally, if I do tend a lot of questions throughout the presentation, so feel free to put your questions in the chat or the Q&A, and we'll be monitoring all the places that takes place. All right, folks. Thanks, Robert. I see you. You're opening a bakery. Awesome. Katrina, post-construction cleaning business. I feel like I need you. I got my own basement project happening right before my eyes. There's all this dust and stuff everywhere from the sanding and the concrete work and all that type of good stuff. Jamie is a marketing consultant. Hi, thanks for being here. Raj, engineer consultant. Imani, haven't started a business yet. Right on. You're in a perfect spot because if you can start with a CRM, you're going to be off to a great start. And Nymphea as a mindset coach. Cool. We definitely have worked with the coaches and using a CRM to manage their not only the coaches that are in the business, but the people who are being coached and all that kind of good stuff too. So thanks everyone for putting some details in there. Super helpful. All right, let's get into it. So why is the CRM at the heart of business growth? The CRM is a system. It's really a fancy database that manages the relationships that you have with your prospects and customers. So all the details typically about your interactions, what you communicate, how you communicate it, what type of communications, all those interactions live inside a CRM for you to be able to make some sense of where are we at with our relationships with our prospects and customers. And your business growth depends on data, especially nowadays. We're seeing how companies are leveraging data, and good data means better decisions. Bad data usually leads to confusion and poor decisions. And another reason why CRM is at the heart of business growth is because the CRM helps you define and design a structured life cycle for which your customers will go through. And typically this looks one of two ways. Companies that don't use a CRM usually are relying on emails, their memory, voicemails, physical mail, who knows? And a lot of this information typically lives in a lot of different places, which makes understanding where people are at within the broader life cycle of working with your business really difficult. And so what a CRM does is it helps you put in more structure and systems in place. So as you're marketing, as you're selling or delivering a service or product inside your business, all that information gets tracked in a sensical way so that you can have faster information to who are my customers, who are my prospects, who ghosted me, which deals have I won, how much did I win, what kind of things are people interacting with and how are they interacting with my website, my marketing, my social, my calls, my visits, my events, my webinars, right? All that information, all that rich engagement information, when structured well within a CRM, will release a new way of growth within your business. So a little bit about myself before we get any more into our topic today. I'm Luis Garcia. I'm the founder and CEO of Media Garcia. We're a growth agency that works with small to mid cap companies on implementing CRMs and other platforms and integrations so that they can accelerate their lead generation. I'm also a SCORE mentor. So I've been with the SCORE organization for a couple of years now. I've also been giving these webinars through SCORE for a couple of years. I've also been a SCORE uh, client myself, actually, when I started my business about 14 years ago while I was moonlighting. I was in corporate IT and business intelligence for 15 years across Target, Deluxe, and Excel Energy. And during that time, I had learned how to code. And so I wanted to make websites for local businesses. Started making WordPress websites. And then I sought out a SCORE mentor because while I knew I wanted to run a business, I had zero clue on what was really involved in doing so. So I met with the SCORE mentor many times at a local Baker Square that doesn't exist anymore, sadly. And we would just talk about business planning, where I was at with things. And a SCORE mentor was fundamental in my growth at that stage. And then even more recently, fast forward 12 years later, I actually re-engaged a SCORE mentor. I didn't even think I really needed one, but then I didn't know that I needed one actually. And I got paired up with a new SCORE mentor a few years ago that helped me get over a kind of a revenue ceiling that I kept hitting. And they were in a similar business space, consultative services, and that because of that SCORE mentor, I was able to break a revenue ceiling that I just was always struggling to break through, and also adapt some different types of business owner mindsets that became really useful inside of my business and helped me update my business model so I could be more profitable and continue my growth. So, not without saying that SCORE is a great organization. If you haven't worked with the mentor yet, I strongly encourage you to, if you're looking for some outside mentorship on either starting or growing your business. I have my bachelor's in information technology at Concordia University, St. Paul. I'm a father and a husband. As I mentioned earlier, my background's in IT and business intelligence. In my free time, I really enjoy fishing and gardening, traveling, and most recently, I've been getting into live streaming. And I've been live streaming both business topics like this, and I'll actually have some links to some of this stuff later. And I've also been streaming me playing video games for the gamers in the crowd. Okay, so we also have I've affiliated to a few different organizations, like I mentioned already. SCORE. I'm a ClickUp power user, which ClickUp is a project management tool. I'm also a HubSpot Platinum Solution Partner. HubSpot's one of the many CRMs on the marketplace. And I'm also gone through the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program. And so from all that, I've done a lot of work in the space of business growth. I've learned about it. I've taken a lot of training, a lot of certifications, and programs around it. So that's what I'm passionate about. If you have your phone handy, or if you're even on your computer and you just want to throw my name in, let's connect on LinkedIn. Feel free to scan this QR code, and that will take you to my LinkedIn profile. Or you could just search for Louis, Louis, and you might need to put my middle initial A and then Garcia. That typically finds me. There's lots of Louis Garcias out there, so sometimes the A makes a difference for the middle initial. Okay. Media Garcia. We help Main Street businesses grow faster and make a bigger impact by simplifying and aligning their marketing, sales, and customer service operations for seamless success. So let's dig into what is a CRM. So, very fundamentally, CRM stands for Customer Relationship Management. However, it's not just about customers, it's really just about people and the relationships with different contacts and businesses that you have within your company. And oftentimes, early on for a company, this information could be, your prospects, your leads, your customers, details about them that you care about, maybe even some of the deals that you're trying to sell. And, it could also include ticketing, like tickets, if you do customer service or some sort of servicing aspect in your business. So at the end of the day, the CRM is a database in which all this type of information lives. And it usually serves as the source of truth for your company in terms of what information and engagement and communications you're putting out there to your prospects and customers. CRMs can be very basic. You could use a spreadsheet as a CRM. There's lots of companies that do. Sometimes people go to the next level and they might use a Google spreadsheet or like an Airtable or some other tool that is really more like tables of information. Then there's then there's fancier kind of like, CRMs that include more features and benefits. For example, like HubSpot that I mentioned earlier. But there's also tons and dozens and hundreds of different CRMs similar to HubSpot that do a whole slew of different functions. Most of these functions are going to be around marketing and selling, and they can include things like email marketing, social media marketing, advertising, email templates, sequences, calling. All these kind of functions could live within a CRM. There's also industry specific CRM. So sometimes I think I saw like cleaning business, right? Commercial residential cleaning from Anthony, right? Like there are some CRMs that are specific to different industries, like B2C. Sometimes B2Cs, companies, businesses that sell to direct to consumers, those will have sometimes different CRMs that are kind of built more specific to the industry than like more B2B companies, like a consulting company might be, like wellness consulting, like Health Source Solutions. Right now, they're working in Pipedrive, which is another CRM, right? So there's a lot of different CRMs on the marketplace, especially nowadays. In the last few years, we've seen a proliferation of growth in the CRM space, largely driven by the pandemic and people needing to work remotely and be able to share information and track all this information remotely. And also because of the onset of AI. Because now we're starting to see, and we'll get to this topic a little bit later, but we're starting to see how our CRMs now have AI tools embedded within them to even provide more value. So, who uses a CRM? Well, there's a couple of usual suspects, but the ones that I tend to see that most often will use a CRM for their business are going to be companies that are selling to other companies. So B2B companies that have a uh, what we call a considered purchasing decision, meaning they take time to research, weigh options, compare until they finally decide on a purchase, which tends to be most B2B purchases. But, so companies that often, usual suspects will be like tech companies, software companies. They generally use B2, or they are generally considered purchasing decisions because there's usually lots of different options and they're usually higher ticket purchases. And sometimes you even need lots, different approvers and different people. Lots of different people might have authority within a company, and so you need a CRM to start tracking all the different relationships, all the different communications that are going back and forth between the teams, so that everyone's on the same page. So that's one usual group. Now, if you're not in that group, that's okay. Chances are you still need a CRM in some case. It's just like, well, how you're going to use it will probably look different. And how that's usually the case is for like B2C companies or companies that sell directly to consumers. Um, Companies that directly sell to consumers, they are still a good use cases for using a CRM. How they might use it is a little bit different than how a software company might use it, but that company still wants to track its contacts over a considered purchasing journey. For example, like a home remodeler definitely should be using a CRM because no one just decides to open up the phone book and call the first home remodeler they see on the list and give them their business, right? Usually it's competitive. Usually there's bidding and demoing and things to consider across this purchasing decision. And so whenever that it takes place, then a CRM is very helpful. Who doesn't use a CRM? Well, mostly like transactional type companies that don't really want to like track everything, like a grocery store. A grocery store might not use a CRM, because people they just go to the grocery store and they buy stuff and they go. Not to say that there aren't grocery stores that aren't using them, But chances are anything that's very transactional, meaning you just go up, you go to the bakery, you buy a loaf of bread, and you go. Chances are they're not using like a CRM in the same magnitude that a B2C or a B2B company with a considered purchasing journey would do. Some of the key benefits of CRM are going to be first for you, the business owner, right? Having a centralized location of all your prospecting and customer interactions is going to give you better insights. It's going to tell you where your business is coming from, how much of it is, which channels work, which channels don't work, which ones are giving you the most revenue or profitability inside your business. That's what the CRM is designed to solve for business owners. It's give you one place where all this rich data can live so that you can plop on some reports and dashboards and watch your company grow. And if it isn't, then at least start to gain insights into why it's not and experiment with different campaigns and approaches until it is. Secondly, your sales team is going to benefit. How the sales team benefits is they have a centralized place where they can manage all their leads so that deals aren't falling through the cracks. So I've seen too many times in my work where contacts have been filling out forms on websites or they've been emailing inboxes to try to get um, a call back from the sales team, and it goes completely missed, right? Without the right alerts and notifications and things set up, finding this kind of information can be very difficult. And then lastly, your customers. Customers are delighted when the business interacts with them in a seamless way. No one likes to repeat themselves on a continual basis around the details of their business. And so when a company interacts with that customer in a seamless way, even across many different people on a team, it feels like they're heard, right? And that he didn't miss details about the relationship. And so those are the main benefits of the CRM. So let's get into a couple of CRM stats. The global customer relationship management CRM market size is projected to grow from 112 billion in 2025 this year to 262 billion. So that's over doubling by 2032 in 7 years. So it's going to double in 7 years. And 91% of companies with 10 or more employees now use a CRM software. Companies that implement CRM systems see an average increase of 29% in sales. And a few more stats. Sales teams implementing a CRM system can experience an increase in lead conversion rates of up to 300%. Companies that effectively use CRM tools to engage with customers experience a 27% increase in customer retention rates. And our last stat here, approximately 94% of tech companies and 71% of small businesses rely on a CRM system to manage their operations. So what some of these stats are telling us is that, when a CRM system becomes embedded inside a company and they start using it as designed, we're going to see improvement in sales performance. We're going to see an improvement in retention. And that's further validated by the fact that, as companies grow, we see that CRM adoption and usage rate increase as well. All right, so now a question for everyone in the crowd. On a scale of 0 to 10, 0 being not confident and 10 being very confident, how confident are you in the accuracy and the usefulness of your CRM data for making business decisions? Go ahead and put your response in chat, please. All right, so I see a 9. Awesome. It's a great start, Richard. We got a 6, 5, 2, 0, 7 to another 9. Jamie, thank you. Andy with the 3. We got I don't use it yet from Katrina. No CRMs. All right. 5, 0, working on the build with Gary. 4, 2, 3. Okay, so we definitely have a couple of folks in the crowd who feel very good about it, almost very like definitely in that very confident range. I'd say that was maybe 20%, less than maybe 10 to 20% so far. And then everyone else was kind of in the 0 to 5 range, it seems, with a 7. So let's go ahead with an average of about 6, right? Because we do have a couple of leaders, and then we have also a handful of folks who haven't used it. And Darcy with the 5, I see you. Thank you. Well, great. Yeah, and that's typically what I see here, is that usually there's a couple folks who feel really good about it, and then the majority are either not or just not using a CRM at all. And typically what happens is we're struggling with these types of questions when we're not confident with the data that's within our CRM. For example, it's going to be very difficult for us to find and understand, well, which deals did my marketing team influence from without the right attribution information. It might be difficult to answer questions like, what's my ROI from these paid campaigns that I'm running? Spending a lot of money on paid, but I don't know. I see a lot of impressions and a lot of clicks, but am I actually getting real business and revenue from it? Right? This confused, concerned CEO or even chief marketing officer, is also asking, is this campaign really working? They're trying to understand what's working, what's not. Will I hit my revenue goals? Why am I short of my goals? Or why is sales down 20% this month? Right? Without having a CRM that brings in all this information and serves up the reports and dashboards in a simple way for you to discern this type of information, it becomes more difficult when we don't have the right kind of data or a non-existent CRM. And when it comes to the business growth, right, we've seen formulas like this before, right? Which it seems very straightforward, right? This formula for revenue, goes around the marketing and sales circles quite a bit, and can be as simply boiled down to as, well, how many leads are you producing? How many of those leads do you convert? Or in this case, your effective conversion rate. So if you get 100 leads and you convert 10%, well, you got 10 customers, right? And then what's your average sales? How many times do you sell in a certain period? That becomes your revenue. So you might have 10 customers. Maybe your average sale per customer is $1,000. So 10 customers at 1,000, that's $10,000. And maybe you sell 2 times a year to them. So you could say, well, we're going to get 20,000 from in revenue, right? And that's from 100 leads at a 10% conversion rate, producing 10 customers, each buying $1,000 twice, right? That's $20,000. So yeah, at a very simplistic level, this is how the formula tends to break down. And there's also this diagram from George Dawson that shows, he's a small business consultant, and he's put this diagram for us to see the complexity of cash flow and cash and growth within our business, right? So to grow our business, it's not just simply marketing better and selling better, but there's a lot of downstream systems that are critical to our business growth. And so, as business owners, we're the plumbers of our own cash flow plumbing system in our business, right? And so this is where all the business owner stress tends to come in place, right? Trying to make sure you have enough customers, manage your debt, selling equity to investors, and then people owe you money, you owe people money, the government wants its cut. At the end of the day, right, we're trying to manage a lot of different things as it relates to these equations. Here's another example of how these formulas might work. So here's an example of an HVAC company that produced 40 leads. They had an effective conversion rate of 25%. So they were converting 25% of their leads, which gave them 10 customers. And they would do one sales per period at 4,500. And so their revenue in this case was just over $500,000 or 540,000. So in this case, we oftentimes would work with their clients to say, well, They might come to us and say, well, I'm my goal is to get to 1 million, right? And so we would say, okay, well, you can get to 1 million by either doubling one of these factors or maybe increasing many factors, but slightly. So in this case, we showed how you could increase your marketing leads by 50% and increase your effective conversion rate while keeping all other factors the same, thereby increasing your revenue, right? So this is often a way that marketers will look at how to articulate your revenue gap and backwards work into what type of campaigns and things we could improve to help you bridge that gap, which there could be a lot of different things that relate to how you generate leads, your conversion rate, your sales. And on screen, you can see these are just a couple examples. For example, if you want more leads, well, you might want to update your website or create landing pages or ads, do email marketing, social media marketing. Those will all generate leads for you. But if you're trying to convert your leads at a higher rate, well, you might need different things. You might need to look at your sales process or who's on your team, develop scorecards, maybe nurture leads who are stuck, in the sales process, or look at discounting or add-ons as a way to increase your conversion rate. So those are all different kind of ways that a marketer might look at in the lens of increasing your growth. But we're going to look at a couple of different ways from like a data perspective, because to get to all that good information, we need to make sure we have the right data in place. So to do that, we're going to look first at your customer lifecycle and really look at, is it going by design or is it random? Meaning, if you took like the last 10 customers or prospects that you interacted with as a business, are people going through a somewhat systematic design, almost like a assembly line for your business, or is it just random? Meaning, do you just, is every communication, custom written, or do you just follow up when you feel like it? Or, uh, and so we want to look at, are things going by design or are they random? So that because a structured life cycle makes your marketing and sales more predictable. And without tracking this stuff, you're just kind of guessing where people are at. So let's break this down further. There's this concept of life cycle stages where your customers, your prospects are going through this journey. And it starts with them being a subscriber, meaning they probably just gave you an email. Maybe they signed up for something on your website, like newsletter updates, and this tends to be the kind of the default beginning stage for contacts in your database. And then we move them through these different stages. Next would be lead, meaning lead is going to be someone who maybe has offered up more than just an email. Maybe they've given you their name, their phone number, or other kind of relevant information like job title, or maybe some of the problems that they're experiencing within the business, right? All that information, as it gets built up, starts to create a lead. Now there's MQL, which stands for marketing qualified lead, and then SQL, which stands for sales qualified lead. What marketing qualified lead is it's a distinction in which that the marketing team has said, if a contact meets this kind of criteria, then they are qualified by the marketing team, meaning that they believe they are a good lead to pass to the sales team to follow up with. So if you're a wellness coach and you're, selling coaching packages, well, you might ask questions around, what someone's like wellness goals are and how quickly do you want to hit those goals? Do they have a budget to invest in a package? Do they have support from their friends and family to do this, right? There might be different kinds of questions and things that you want to solicit that would build up that person towards what we would call a marketing qualified lead. That person maybe went to your website and downloaded an ebook on 10 ways to increase the wellness, of your life and simple habits, right? So the marketing team is creating different kinds of campaigns to nurture leads to becoming what they would call marketing qualified. Once they are marketing qualified, then they hand them off to the sales team. And so when your sales team says, okay, like here's this lead that marketing just gave to me, I'm now going to go reach out to that lead and try to set up, the next, move forward in the relationship. So that might be, doing like a connect or discovery call. Sometimes it's doing a demo. Maybe in the case of a wellness coaching program, it might be a call with, someone on the sales side, plus maybe even the coach with the person who is interested to explore further, what their goals are, what kind of program are they looking to get into, right? But at some point, that sales team is going to say, yes, this was a sales qualified lead, meaning that and there's often these different lead statuses that tend to show up within the sales qualified lead. So so your sales team is, they're working this contact, or they might have reached out to the contact and determined that they're unqualified, right? And then they're like, nope, this person, I called them, they're not a good fit. You might call them unqualified at that point. And there's different stages that salesperson at that SQL stage would take in order to nurture that lead, right, and forward into an opportunity. Now, let's say your salesperson was able to connect with the contact, they had a conversation, and they are definitely interested in wellness coaching. Well, that might be the indicator to move it to an opportunity stage, which then we would have different deal stages that would come in as a part of that. These different deal stages, they're kind of they're subsections of the opportunity lifecycle stage. So the deal stages could include things like app scheduled, qualified to buy, presentation scheduled, decision maker brought in, contract sent, close won, close lost. And these deal stages are now a part of that opportunity stage, right? So they're kind of like a subset. Tracking this information across all your contacts will start to bring about a lot of different opportunities to once segment your lists out, so you can say, okay, who are my customers, who are my leads, who was unqualified, who said it was bad timing, right? And with all these different lists, you can start to do different actions and things along the way. Each one of these deal stages acts as a milestone within your sales journey. So as things move through different stages, a CRM can start to automate things for you, or maybe send you notifications on things. For example, when a deal becomes closed won, you could have notifications sent out to your team, alerting of a new closed won deal with details about that deal. And it could even kick off some of the onboarding steps and next things for your service team to get queued up. So this lifecycle management is actually a really huge part about CRM systems, and it's about just tracking and being able to segment different contacts across different lists so that you have better clarity into where your prospects and customers are along this spectrum of the journey. I have a YouTube where I spent about 6 hours talking about life cycle stages. It's a deep dive. I'm not going to get into all of it here today. So I just wanted to give you a primer on life cycle stages. However, if through this conversation you're still curious or have questions about life cycle stages, then you can scan this. It'll take you to the YouTube page where we have part one of a life cycle stage deep dive, where I'll actually go through different resources and examples in live on how life cycle stages are used and how to track them and keep like best practices around life cycle stages as well. And make sure you subscribe if you go to our YouTube channel. So because we're talking about so much data as it relates to our life cycle stages, and I'll actually have more examples here soon. Data quality is super important as it relates to our CRM. Again, our CRM is a database, so the data at the end of the day is the key. And when we have bad data, yep, I see, Angela. I'll go ahead and I'll put a link in here. I'll put some links here in just a moment. The data quality is super critical. Bad data causes inefficiencies, poor decision making, and lost revenue. Some examples of bad data might be duplicates. We come across a lot of duplicates in CRMs, meaning duplicate contacts, duplicate companies, and all this information can lead to contacting people multiple times erroneously. And it also looks just unprofessional when you get 5 emails from the same company marketing to you the same information. Sometimes there's also missing data, where especially for critical fields that you might need through the sales process. For example, I'm going to go back to our wellness coaching. If you're selling a wellness coach package and through the sales process you help the person who's interested into articulating their goals around wellness coaching, and then that information doesn't get tracked in your CRM, and now they're kicking off with your coach, and if they have to restate their goals again, it's going to feel like that information went missing because it was solicited during the sales process, but it wasn't maintained and it wasn't passed to the service team or the person delivering the service. So it's an example of missing data. And also inconsistent formatting. This could be like inconsistent dates. Sometimes people like there could be like inappropriate data model sometimes within a CRM. So ensuring that you have really good data quality is important. And so some things that you want to do inside your CRM is just to regularly maintain it and clean data. As you have better data, your reporting is going to get better and the customer experience will improve as well. And so some best practices for hygiene for CRM data include regular audits. So auditing, checking for those duplicates, checking for missing fields or different inconsistencies is very important. Also standardizing your data entry. So that way things have, more standardization and more consistency, which is going to help with your automation. Some tools will have like data cleanup within them, and would strongly recommend using any kind of workflow to auto clean or update records as needed. All right, perfect. So I'm gonna see if we can get that one link here from earlier. I'll throw that in the chat. Thanks for the notice on that, Angela. There we go. So that's the YouTube for the life cycle stage that I just put into the chat. All right. And then another key piece with CRMs that's super helpful for business growth is going to be around lead scoring. So what lead scoring is a way to prioritize your high value leads. And this is typically done by assigning points to your lead if they're a good fit. And in some cases, you can actually remove points if they're not a good fit. So at a very rudimentary level example, you could give 10 points to someone if their job title was a manager, right? Say you wanted to say you sell to managers or execs, right? You might say, well, anyone that has manager in their job title will get points. You could also give points to someone if they visit a pricing page. These are examples of where a CRM is connected to your website. So when a CRM is connected to your website through a pixel or like a little code that you put on your website, when people start to pop around on the different pages that you have and they fill out a form, well, typically because of that pixel, the user of that CRM, whether it's marketing team or the owner, is able to see all the pages that contact looked at. And from that information, they might be able to say, oh, this person looked at our pricing page. So they're actually probably further down the customer journey and maybe ready to talk to us about pricing and a deal. right? So you give points or you incentivize the pricing scale for positive behaviors. And these things could be demographics about your leads. So it could be their job title, it could be where they're located, um, it could be it could be any kind of factor that you can collect demographically about them. And then secondly, you can also make it based off behaviors. So how are they behaving? Did they fill out forms? Do they go to your, do they look at different pages on your website? Do they engage with your email marketing, like opens, clicks, replies, all that type of stuff? All that could lead into a score. And why we score is because it does a couple of things for us. It helps us understand what's the threshold first in which we want to say this is a lead that we need to reach out to. And it also helps us disqualify people that we should avoid. Now, I know personally, early on in my business, I wanted to work with everyone, right? I definitely was like, if anyone had a website to build, I would want to build it, right? But pretty soon, I started to realize that there were some projects and some types of clients or businesses that I did really good work for and we were happy with, and there was just some projects and clients and things that industries that I would work for that just didn't go the way that I wanted or just not an ideal outcome. And over time, and I promise if if you are just starting your business, you might be in the same boat where, it kind of feels like any money or any business is good business. And there definitely is a trap there. And you want to definitely think about and start to notice, who do you do really great work for? Is it a kind of project? Is it a type of client? Is it a type of industry? What is this type of stuff I enjoy working on and is profitable, right? Like those are build a scoring system, a lead scoring system for you that helps you identify those situations more, help you get more, ideal customers and ideal sales. And you can also use a lead scoring system to avoid or disqualify um, clients or customers or projects that aren't a good fit or that you might want to avoid. Other ways to develop a lead scoring system, yeah, is to first, identify your high quality leads. So again, might be by industry, role, company size, etc., and then assign your positive and negative scoring values. Typically, a CRM system, including HubSpot, is going to have a lead scoring mechanism within it. So then you can build it out and say, give points for this, take points away for that. And from that, you're able to automate usually alerts and notifications and things to be able to say, hey, this person went to your website, filled out a form, looked at your pricing page, went to 20 other pages on your website, and replied to an email, right? If all that stuff is happening, chances are you want an alert and you want a notification to follow up with that contact immediately because they're showing lots of signs of interest, right? And you've probably seen this, or maybe even experienced this yourself, where you've just opened up an email and you started clicking around on stuff, and then you got a call from the company that you got the email from. If you've ever been in that situation, chances are they were using a CRM with pixels and tracking to see when you're engaging in all this stuff so that they could follow up with you in a timely manner and know that they have your attention and that you're looking at this time. So it's just a natural time, to follow up to see how things are going, if you have questions, and to move the relationship forward. And of course, lead scoring is one of those things that just is not a set it and forget it type thing. It does need maintenance and tweaking over time. So you want to make sure that you're reviewing and refining your scores based on what's working and what's not working. So if you don't have any type of lead scoring in place, you could just start with something very basic, right? Uh, and there's lots of like lead scoring templates and examples that, well, actually, I'll share with you here in just a second because we have another YouTube video where we do a lead score deep dive. But there's lots of examples out there on how to set up different type of lead scoring systems, whether you're in a CRM or not, and we'll get those to you. But know that it's something that you'll continually tweak over time. As an example, we were working with an large insurance company that generates too many leads. Their problem is that they're generating sometimes hundreds of leads a month, and they need to be able to narrow down through lead scoring a subset of those leads to actually pass through the sales team, because the sales team isn't big enough to follow up with all these leads. And if it were, it'd be really expensive and likely ineffective, because not all these leads are ready. Many of the leads still need to be nurtured through marketing campaigns and through time. And so we've created a lead scoring system for them to use almost as a throttle or like a valve to be able to say, I want more leads. So we're going to lower the score threshold. And as a result, more leads are going to flow through. But if they have too many leads, then they can actually increase the lead score threshold, and fewer leads will come through that lead scoring mechanism. So lead scoring allows companies, once they have too many leads on their hands, allows you to flex the throughput of how many leads come in based on lead scoring. And here's another link for our lead scoring deep dive. I'll go ahead and I'll put this link in chat here too. Just one second. All right. Chat. Okay. So chat has the YouTube video for the lead score deep dive. So if lead scoring sounds like a useful thing that you want to dive further into, then we actually have like 4 parts where we're going through all of this on our YouTube channel. All right. Well, I mentioned it a little bit earlier during our presentation, but AI and automation is here, and we're seeing a lot of it come into our CRM. We're seeing AI help with data enrichment, lead scoring, and even email drafting. It's just a couple of examples. So what data enrichment is we talked about missing data or incorrect data uh, in our CRM, and some of the issues and risks that can have. Well, AI and data enrichment can correct and update these fields based on its databases that it has around these contacts or companies, which is going to help with lead scoring. And we're also seeing AI assist in a lot of CRMs around like drafting content, and not even just email, but it could be email content, social media content, website content, landing page content, sales email, marketing email content. So we're seeing AI come into a lot of these different places. So it's enhancing the CRM. It's definitely not going to replace it, but we're definitely seeing a lot more AI and automation tools show up inside the CRM platform. HubSpot has a chat spot and predictive lead scoring. These are just some features that it has that allow for AI activities. So you can chat with an AI bot within your CRM and ask it questions like, how many leads did I generate yesterday? Who are my top leads based on predictive lead scoring? Right. All those things are starting to become possible so that we can just start to interact with an AI on our, on the data that resides within our database. But know that AI just enhances workflows. It's not going to replace human judgment, at least anytime soon. And so, you still want to observe the practices and behaviors that your AI tool or operators are doing to ensure that they're not running amok and making amok in your database. A couple of other things around AI that I see in terms of trends within the space is that we're seeing a lot more AI in terms of like reporting and analytics. So I think you'll be able to get to a point here through generative business intelligence or generative reporting or analytics to be able just to start to ask complex questions to AI to help you answer questions that maybe would have taken a really long time to figure out how to build a report or dashboard on. And the problem with building reports and dashboards is that they tend to be static. Once you build them, then they're static. But we're seeing AI come in, and you might be able to explore your CRM data a lot more elegantly and quickly and efficiently to get more insights and information around what's working or not working within your business. So once we have all these, pieces in place, we're able to do things like attribution, right? Once you have all these breadcrumbs of information inside your CRM, you're able to start to see things like contact or lead or revenue attribution, which is a fancy way of saying, what were the things that caused the outcome that I want? When did my contacts get created and why? How did I win these deals? What were the interactions that took place in between? Once you know what's your first touch or last touch and all kind of the touches in between, your CRM and your systems are going to be able to understand, what was the journey that this contact took in order to get that bag of money, right? And so they might have first came to an event, but then you might have sent them an email and they filled out a form, and then they filled out a different form on your website, right? Once you know that once you have the right tracking and measurements in place to track this, then your attribution information is going to be very rich, and it's going to yield a lot of insight. So companies that are very sophisticated in their CRM usage get to the level of attribution with confidence, and they're able to say, marketing influenced this for me. Thank you, marketing team. You did this, right? Or the sales team influenced this and created this amount of revenue. Thank you, sales team, right? And you're able to start to quantify the impact that all these different kind of campaigns and which channels that they're coming from are having on the growth inside the business. Another way that CRMs often provide ways to execute different kind of experiments and programs is through conversion rate optimization. And for example, um, like this conversion rate, we can see that there is two examples of a website pop-up, one that is with a countdown timer, one that is without a countdown timer. And we can see that there was, and in this case, there was an increase of 7.97% conversion rate on the example with the countdown timer, right? And we are able to use a CRM to set this up and measure the difference between these systems. Oh, by the way, I actually am seeing here a question in our Q&A. Can you recommend a simple CRM system for a solopreneur service-based business, low number of signed agreements, but high value agreements? Yeah, really great question. And so some of the CRMs that I typically see that are going to be more for solopreneurs, one that I often see will be Zoho. Tends to be one that I come across quite a bit. That's zoho.com. And I'll put that here. That's one. Tend to see a lot of this, especially earlier on, and for small teams. Another one is, like I mentioned already, is HubSpot. HubSpot does have, and that's at hubspot.com. The nice thing about HubSpot, it does have a free version, right? So that's usually when I hear solopreneur, I'm usually, okay, what's going to be cost effective for me, right? For example, a system like Salesforce, which is another CRM, is not going to be what I recommend for a solopreneur. Salesforce is going to be more for mid cap to enterprises that have a large sales team. They want to track how a robust sales organization is operating, and so that Thanks for reposting those. By the way, I see that I'm just messaging the hosts and panelists, so I'll have to redo that. So Zoho, HubSpot, Insightly is another one. Let's see here that I come across with as well. Um, there are a lot, and sometimes, depending on your type of business, you might even just go to Google and just do a quick search and say CRM for and put your industry in, right? And there might be specific industry CRMs. Now here's a couple things I'll just say about which one to choose and how to choose it, right? First is, I typically would look at what the ecosystem looks like. You want to be you don't want to, like, for example, there's a lot of industry specific CRMs, but they might not have it. There might not be a huge company. So they might be a small company, which could mean, not always, but it could mean that the rate of change of their tool could be slow, or the amount of resources or support or experts with expertise in the tool to customize it to your needs could be fewer, right? Not necessarily always, but it could be, right? And so I always look for the ecosystem, like how robust is the ecosystem, how much knowledge is there, how much training, how, are there certifications, are there experts out there that I could hire if I get stuck on something, or am I going to have to DIY it completely and try to figure it out, right? So that's usually one place I look to, is just the broader ecosystem, the knowledge that's there. And then ultimately, of course, the features. Like, what features are you looking to get out of it? If you're a solopreneur that's just needing a place to keep track of your contacts and maybe whether you call them or email them, well, there are some free tools like with HubSpot that could do just that perfectly. But know that as you get more ingrained into any CRM, right? One, it might be a little trickier to move away from the CRM, or you're gonna have to move data, which generally results in some sort of, some form of pain, to because you might lose data if you choose to switch CRMs, um, and so, you know, you typically get more value the longer, the more ingrained into the system that you're wanting to get into, that you get, right? Um, but you also want to look at what's the future costs of that, because, HubSpot also isn't cheap, especially as you start to go into those higher tiers. There's definitely a ton of value, and there's a reason why those things cost the way they cost, because companies typically see a tremendous amount of growth as they deepen their investment. But you also just want to look at what is your potential total cost of ownership long term with any tool that you uh, choose to kind of get more ingrained in. Yeah, so Mitzi, I see CRAM for small construction business, or CRM. I think they meant CRM. Yeah, so again, you could use like a HubSpot starting investment. Once you do have to start spending with HubSpot, it's usually about $50 a month. That tends to be the case with most CRMs out there. I'm sure with like a Zoho or Insightly, it's probably about the same. Keep an eye out though. Pricing as it relates to CRM also tends to depend on how many users you're going to have. So if you're just a solopreneur, well, that might be pretty straightforward. But if you're hoping to get like 10, 15 users into your tool, well, different tools might price differently based on users. And so that's another consideration to make. Generally, when I'm introducing any kind of CRM to a company for the first time, I have them try out a free one, and to not get too deep into it, right? And just try it out, try some of the interactions, get a sense for it first before, to dip your toe in the lake, right? Before you go full bore on it. And that way you can make sure that, one, you like the user interface, because that's another really big aspect too, is like, how easy is it for you and your team to adopt these tools as well. At the end of the day, you could have the most perfect CRM with all the beautiful features and benefits that you could ever wildly desire inside your business. But if people don't use the tool as designed, or if they struggle with it, or if they don't like the user interface, or they find it confusing or frustrating to use, then eventually adoption will start to falter. And then you get bad data or no data, missing data, right? And all these types of issues start to creep in. So you would definitely want to find something that you can see yourself adopting, your team adopting, actually using, and hopefully enjoying, because that's the whole point of this. enjoy the work within this and see how it actually makes our lives easier and starts to automate things for us, the more likely we are to adopt it and then ingrain it more deeply into the business. Appreciate all the questions, by the way. Very good questions. Okay, so here's another common feature that we see within CRM systems. It's going to be email templates and sequences. What these are typically for your sales team to write out emails that they usually would send out already. So these are really classic examples of these would just be like follow-up emails. So say you're a salesperson or a business owner who is a salesperson and you reached out to someone, you had a meeting with them in person, online, on Zoom, wherever it might be. Well, you might want to follow up with a sequence of emails and potentially even calls and other types of activities. And so this is an example within HubSpot, a screen that shows setting up a sequence where you can set up automated emails, calls, to-dos, etc. And you can personalize the emails as well. So you can put different placeholders in, like here we have the first name, down here we have the sender's full name. We even have a meeting link in here, which would be the meeting link of the person that's sending it. And so with that, we're able to we don't have to write this email out every time, right? We just write it out once, and then we just use it whenever we need to use it. And here's an example of what kind of an end-to-end HubSpot sequence, or any kind of sequence, doesn't have to be specific to HubSpot, but in this case, this was built for HubSpot. This is what might be a sequence look like. It could be that you reach out with a welcome email. Then maybe a day later, you get a task to connect with them on LinkedIn. And then the next day, some sort of helpful content email. And then maybe a day later, 2 days later, you get a task to do a phone call, right? And then next, the social proof, an invitation to chat. And then you might change the lead status based on how things are going. And then a follow-up email, say after all this, they never respond, you never get a hold of them, you might send them the breakup email, right? Which just gives them a signal that you're moving on, right? And from all that, right, we can move people through this structured design of the journey. And from that, we can analyze the sequence. So if you ran the sequence on 100 different contacts that you just like had a meeting with, then you'd be able to go back and say, okay, well, how did this email do? Did they open it? Did they click it? Did they reply on it? How far through the sequence do people get? Do they go all, are they going all the way through the whole time? Or where are we converting people? Is it connected on LinkedIn? Is it the phone call? Having a standardized and structured approach and sequence to move people through will allow us to kind of get more insights into this. Here's an example of a HubSpot dashboard, which would show, because all the data that we have on our prospects and customers lives within the CRM, well, you're typically able to create a lot of really great marketing and sales dashboards as a result. So we can see from this particular dashboard, it's showing us how many visitors we had to our website, how many contacts we created, and how many customers from this list we created as well. So we can see the counts over time, as well as conversion rates in between. Here's another example of report and dashboard. It's called a deal forecast, which would show us, how much we're expected to close this month based on how many deals we have and which stage they're in. So when we have good data around our deals and opportunities within our pipeline and the likelihood of those deals closing, we can start to forecast better, which is another benefit that companies that are using a CRM system get to benefit from. They get better forecasting, so they can actually look out into the future and say, hey, we're going to probably close $23,471 this month, right? And as long as the data is updated and good within that deal pipeline, then we can have confidence in this number and start to forecast what deal and revenue might look like into the future. With really good CRM data, we can also dig into our deal stage funnel and start to see where there might be drop-offs and how the performance of this funnel is performing. So I might look at this and say, wow, we're creating deals and setting appointments, but there's a really big drop off between setting the appointment and completing the appointment. Only 21% move beyond this. If I saw this, I would go in and say, okay, what's happening here? Why is there such a significant drop off in between these two different stages? And from that, maybe suggest different types of optimizations and adjustments to see this conversion rate increase. Because if we can see this conversion rate increase, then chances are everything's going to subsequently increase beyond that, which could be very valuable for this company. A CRM system can also help us get a sense of our pipeline and how much value we have in our pipeline, how much value we're putting into it or taking out of it, so that way we can see how our pipeline adjusts over time. And from that, you can gain a better understanding of whether or not your pipeline is sufficient or full enough to hit your forecasts or hit your goals that you have set for your business. So those are a couple examples, many examples, in fact, of how we can use a CRM to grow our business. The main things that it comes down to is having, essentially good data that we can track across our life cycle stages, so that we're able to see where people are at and how they got to where they're at today, so that we can start to make better decisions and judgments and experiments on how to improve the customer journey, whether that be through the different life cycle stages, the deal stages when they're inside our pipeline, or lead statuses if they're currently working with the sales team. That's my structured presentation for now. I'm happy to answer any kind of specific CRM questions, or any questions for that matter. Feel free to put those in the chat, or you can put them in the Q&A as well, and we can spend a little bit of time on that. And then I'll also put I'll put a link to my LinkedIn, because I know not everyone was able to scan the QR codes, and so I'll just put that link to my LinkedIn here into the chat as well. Feel free to connect with me there. Happy to answer questions after this as well, should anything come up as you are looking through your CRM journey. Thanks, Melissa. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Lewis. Like we said, if you have any questions, place them in the chat, Q&A, but otherwise, oh, there's one in the Q&A. Oh, did you already do this one, Lewis? Can you recommend a simple CRM? All right, I'll get rid of that then.
Yep.
All right, then. Seeing none. Oh, yep, there's one.
Okay, yeah, so Natalia asked about forms on landing page. What information do you typically include? Yeah, it's a really good question. So a lot of times CRMs will have the ability to create forms, and you'll put these forms onto your website, and sometimes CRMs will include landing pages. So you can create a form, you can create a landing page, and you can put that form in a landing page. So usually on the landing page, that is something where you want to collect more information just beyond the email. So you might be collecting email, first name, last name, there's and maybe like phone number, and anything that might be related or relevant to the landing page that is being offered. So for example, if you're like an accounting firm that does bookkeeping and other financial services for a company, you might have on your landing page questions like, which accounting software do you use, or are you currently working with a bookkeeper, right? You might just ask relevant questions that are important to the sales cycle or the qualification of that contact. But you also want to watch out from about putting too many questions on a landing page, because we've seen that as the number of questions increase, that the conversion rate will decrease, right? So that doesn't mean only ask for email, because it's very simple to do just email, right? And you'll start getting a lot of responses, but maybe not high quality responses. It's actually somewhat healthy to put a little bit of friction in the conversion process by forcing people to provide more information. Because if they provide more information, then that generally means that they have a higher intent, right? Um, because for me to just put my email, even a burner email into a form is like second to none, right? It's simple. I can just do that real quick versus me having to sit through and actually answer like 6 drop down questions or whatever, right? Like just that little extra friction could be good because it's going to generally yield a higher quality contact for you or more qualified contact for you. Now, one thing that sometimes CRMs will include is the ability to do like some A/B testing, Natalia. So you could actually have 2 landing pages, and you could have one where maybe you just collect a little bit of information, and then you have another one where you collect a lot of information, right? And if you ran those both side by side for some time, you might be able to get some insights and say, oh yeah, like the form where we all only asked for email, we got so many more responses from that, but the conversion of that was so much lower compared to the one where we asked more questions. Maybe we got fewer responses, but we got higher quality responses, right? So, with that information, you might be able to say, okay, like let's go one way or the other based on the types of results that you're able to see from it. Okay, so I see a question around, are there any promotion or discount codes available for HubSpot for getting started? So there aren't discount codes. However, you can work through HubSpot directly or through a partner like myself to basically get in contact with HubSpot to negotiate a package, basically. Um, Usually it's going to be only for like their professional tiers and above, where like the monthly rate might be beyond, to $500 monthly. um, I haven't seen a whole lot of pricing or discounting on like their $50 packages or more of their lower ones, but I'm not to say that they don't. I just haven't seen that happen quite often. So but yeah, best options there would be to contact HubSpot directly and try to get in contact with a direct rep with them, or I'd be happy to have a conversation with you to see, if there's through my connections that I have there, if there's anything that we can do for you. Thank you for your question. All right, cool. What AI tools can you recommend to write newsletters? Great question. Um, so, I've personally been working a lot with ChatGPT, and in addition to that, using um, GPT and operators as well. Um, with I think the GPT, I think it's their pro plan. I think at that level you get um, the deep research capabilities, and so I found that it is really it is effective at generating topics and ideas, but at the end of the day, you'd still want someone to proofread, edit, and adjust. It's not perfect, right? So it's not going to get you something that's like ready to go. But usually, in HubSpot as well has some AI writing tools as well. And so through its Breeze, it's called Breeze AI. Those are I've used those two tools personally to come up with just content, and not necessarily specific to newsletter also, but it has included newsletter content and email content, but also um, social media and website content as well. Thanks, E. Thanks, Andy. Appreciate it. Last call for questions. Anyone? Going once? Twice?
All right. Thank you so much, Lewis. Thank you, everyone. It's past the lunch hour, so I'm sure you're hungry. So thank you. And we will see everyone at a webinar soon. Take care.